is a family from Hankey. The husband was away. The attacker came, shot his way into the house, raped the mother, attempted to rape the daughter, attempted to get the son to rape his sister. And he was eventually caught and tried. I was privileged to be in court when he was sentenced. I think he got 30 years, not enough. But that family, through the trauma, sold up the farm and they've moved to Australia.
Because they're being killed, and we don't want to see people be killed. Now, South Africa leadership is coming to see me, I understand, sometime next week. And, we're supposed to have I guess a G20 meeting there or something, but we're having a G20 meeting. I don't know how we can go unless that situation's taken care of.
Illuminati is a thing you need to watch out for. They want to depopulate and slave us so much more. World domination, I'll get into that later. I'm hardcore, fierce and sexy. You're just a hater. You deserve the ridicule because you're an absolute zero. I'm the keeper of the chalice, a rock and roll hero. I'm not an idiot nobody listens to, because I'm not a failure in life like you. Let's talk about Bill Gates and the mark of the beast and the orgies in the streets at the Catholic feasts and Bill and Hillary's human trafficking ring. And George Soros got the money to pay for everything. Socialism is for losers, working for the devil, chumps that can't fight, they ain't on my level. It takes an evil one to try to debunk and doubt it, so I'd rather die than stop talking about it. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. Watch out for the Illuminati. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. Watch out for the Illuminati. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. Watch out for the Illuminati. Watch out for the Illuminati.
Recently, Donald Trump has made this exception where he says, he doesn't want immigration, but now he wants it, especially if it is white people, white Afrikaners. As a matter of fact, he's allowing white South African farmers, giving them a fast track to come into the country. They're claiming that they are victims of, quote, unjust racial discrimination and genocide.
May I remind you that a lemon is a sour fruit. Welcome to the MC Too Tall Show. I, of course, am your hardcore, fierce, and sexy host, MC Too Tall. Now let's talk about South Africa. And 60, not hundreds of thousands, 60. And that's a rough guesstimate. There are reports saying as little as 49. Some say 51, some say 59, just cutting it shy of the 60 mark. So let's go to let's round it off to the nearest 10 and say 60. Okay, 60 asylum seekers from South Africa have entered the country, and they're going through the legal process. And Don Lemon has a problem with it. Other liberal pundits that you see on your legacy media, they have a problem with it. So when you question the records, the criminal records of hundreds of thousands of people entering the country illegally, which means if they've committed no other crime, they're still committing the crime of entering the country illegally, you're a racist. But if you allow immigrants to come into the country legally, you're a racist. So are they pro-immigrant, are they anti-immigrant, or are they pro-crime, supporting the crime of entering the country illegally? At 60, that's a very small number of people coming into the country. 60 is a very small number when you compare it to the hundreds, among the hundreds of thousands, millions of people who've entered the country illegally, who happen to be rapists, murderers, drug traffickers, drug dealers, human traffickers. You know that there's going to be hundreds, if not thousands, among those millions coming in that are among these types of hardened criminals. So the amount of criminals among the illegals entering the country is way more than 60 people. You know that. Now let's talk about the missing children among those who entered the country illegally. 300,000, estimated at 300,000 children who entered the country illegally who are now like MIA. They're undocumented, which makes it very easy for people who are in the organ harvesting business to organ harvest these young potential victims. 300,000, that's a hell of a lot more than 60. Double-digit figure, 60. Don Lemon has a problem with it. These other pundits have a problem with it. There's somebody on MSNBC, one of these stupid panelists, I forget his name, called it, what was it, obnoxious or repulsive? One of those two words. Some sort of derogatory statement he made about these innocent people literally escaping barbarism and butchery at the hands of people who believe they're entitled to land that has been in the generation of these families, or has been in the hands of these families for generations, I should say. And so you got people literally being cut up, tortured, their throats slit, women getting their throats slit and raped while they're bleeding out of their throats, women being raped and their kids being forced, their faces pointed forcefully at their mothers getting raped. As you saw in the beginning of the video, a juror for a case of somebody who was sentenced for rape and kidnapping. I believe he was either a juror or a neighbor who happened to show up to the case. I'm not sure, but he was somehow connected in some way to the case. And you saw what he said. The guy breaks into a home while the husband's away, rapes the wife, tries to force the kids to rape each other, tries to force the son to rape the sister. He rapes the mother. And, he got caught, sentenced to 30 years, which is light, but guy should spend the rest of his life behind bars. But, we're talking about the South African justice system. And not wanting people to be slaughtered and killed and have their land taken away from them without compensation doesn't mean, bring back E.W. Botha and apartheid. It doesn't mean that at all. Play fair. Play fair. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. There's too many people that are for either, they're on one side or the other, and they want either this side slaughtered or this side slaughtered. How about slaughtering nobody? How about some peace in this world? Will we ever see peace in the Middle East? That's a whole different story right there. A whole different conversation. A whole other can of worms that has been open for years. I'm confident that Donald Trump will be able to close up that can of worms pretty soon as well. Depending on how good the bad guys act, if you know what I mean. And so, back to the South African situation. Donald Trump's letting in these asylum seekers that are legit asylum seekers. These people are legit in danger. I've seen footage where a bunch of land reclaimers, let's call them that, and let's not color code who they are, They're people who are trying to reclaim African land, and they knock on the door of some farmer. Farmer comes out, older white guy, you know, little spare tire going on. Looks like he's in his late 60s, and they're telling him he has to leave right there and then. He has to leave. Right at that moment, he's just got to leave, take whatever he can get his hands on, and just leave. Whatever he can't pick up, he's got to leave it to the people that this advocate who's speaking on their behalf is in the guy's face on behalf of. And so that's what's going on. And what happens is he says, well, this home and this farm has been in my family for generations. We bought this land. And the guy goes, well, you bought it from a white person, right? And that person bought it from a white person. That person bought it from a white person. That white person stole our land. That's the equivalent. That's the equivalent of somebody saying that their ancestors are from some Native American tribe, and they knock on my door to say this and say I should just walk out of my house and give the land to them. If that was to happen to me, I'd tell the guy to go shit in his hat. This farmer would have been dead to rights to tell this guy to shit in his hat. But he was outnumbered. So rather than get punched in the face and thrown down the stairs, because they had to come up this wooden staircase to get to the guy's front door to harass him. So to avoid getting punched in the face and thrown down the stairs, he decides to just quietly leave. He doesn't even go back in the house to collect any belongings. He starts heading down the stairs a little slow in his pace, because he's an older guy with a gut. And guess what happens to him? He gets punched in the face and thrown down the stairs anyway. With that crowd of savages yelling and screaming in savage joy. And I'm sorry, to take over somebody's house in this day and age, when it's more theirs, I mean, when it belongs to the person that's taking it from more than it's theirs, that's just outright savagery. That's outright savagery. And so 60, tiny fraction of the people being raped and murdered and slaughtered and cut up and alive and killed in the most brutal of ways, being beheaded. The children who are forced to watch their mothers and sisters get raped. 60 is a small fraction of the victims that are still out there in South Africa. They're seeking refuge, and they came in as asylum seekers to do it the right way. And Don Lemon has a problem with it. Don Lemon has a problem with it. Well, fuck Don Lemon. Straight up. Fuck Don Lemon. And fuck his catty remarks towards Megyn Kelly. And though I'm no fan of Nikki Haley, fuck his remarks about Nikki Haley, with his implications that she's somehow too old of an old hag to be president. No, she's too much of a friggin' neocon to be president. Her age has nothing to do with any of it. Isn't she old? Well, how the fuck old are you, sour fruit? Anyway, there goes another person that needs to go to church and find God and stop being such a fucking sinner. And we're going to conclude this episode of the MC Too Tall Show. Hope you enjoyed it. Like, subscribe, share, tell all your friends about me. Respect God. Watch out for the Illuminati. Stay strong, keep kicking that slang. It's your boy, The Billing. I'm a hip-hop legend, recording engineer, and underground rock and roll hero, MC Too Tall.